The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Our friends over at ecobarista.com.au. Man, these guys not only making some of the best coffee bags, cups and that, but it's all eco-friendly stuff. They got recyclable, they got compostable. We make our bags with them. Beautiful bags. We got these made with them 3 years ago, completely custom made. Liam's doing some hand gestures at me. I don't know
Just
what that
hold
is.
that bag a bit closer to you.
Oh, there you go.
Right, there we go. Now we can see it. Look at that.
Okay,
Look at that bag.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Kirk is getting some bags, cups made right now. He's showing me some designs. They're looking good.
Yep.
Get them made so we can have them on the pod. I want to show them
look,
off.
I'm working on it. But, all good things take time.
Yep.
And Uncle Russ is cooking. We know Uncle Russ is cooking.
Russ is cooking.
It's
true.
So I'm getting, but it's, it's summer right now, right?
Yep.
So I've got my iced latte cups that look real good. And I've said it on the podcast before, it's got to be big. You got to be able to shake it. You got to have that Hoshizaki ice.
Gotta have the little ice
Those
shakes.
Eco Barista cups, everyone in Melbourne should be using them.
Yeah,
Everyone in
absolutely.
Melbourne.
And if you want to use them or you want to get them for your cafe or roastery, then you just go to ecobarista.com.au and you get 15% off your first purchase.
How good is that? 15% off your first purchase.
Bargain. Russ, how are you doing it?
Yeah,
You're giving it away.
What's that question you usually ask me?
Oh, I just normally, it's more of a personal question, but I just wanted to know, are you an eco warrior?
No, I'm not. I'm an Eco Barista.
Oh, it's still here. 2025.
I have to go again.
Best ad read yet.
2025.
Well,
We're rolling.
we're rolling.
Man, we've been rolling for 5 hours.
We've been rolling for 5 hours. This is
Sorry, I'm coming at you hot. It's just I'm trying to keep the energy up because we've been podding all day.
all day long. And you know what? It's been a good one. I feel like we got two of the best guests we could have possibly got. Really.
I reckon it's been one of the best day of podding just in terms of like two people with so much knowledge, different skews, really interesting day.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could have spoken to both of them for hours longer,
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I think, Scott's a great interview because he's a very misunderstood person. I think he's very blunt. I think he's incapable of just not being straight with you. So, and that kind of carries through with his speaking. Like he said, I think that one thing that might jump out to people in that podcast, he said, well, if you were to come work for me, it's almost like you should be paying me.
Yeah.
Because you're getting...
No, but see, you even humanize it then. It's almost like you should maybe be paying me. No, he was like, if you were to come and work for me, you should be paying me because of the knowledge that you'll be learning.
Yeah.
Just dead straight. There's no little added words to soften it.
Yeah.
It's just
exactly.
dead.
And people listening to might think, oh, what a wanker. But, I think that's kind of, you're missing the point there. Blunt thing to say, but
But it's honest, right?
It's honest. And his reputation and work speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. There was one funny bit where I don't know. I just found it amusing that when we were talking about the way coffee's going and then you were like, oh, a cafe with a lever machine for that experience. He's like, oh, yeah, that'll be nice as a novelty. And I just laughed at the fact of calling it a novelty. And he just gave me this look like,
What do you mean?
just was not on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Well,
death stare.
but he's, he really is the world authority on coffee roasting. Some people kind of detest what he does. I've been to a roastery in Melbourne where the guy basically just straight up says my roasting style is anti-Scott Rao. And I don't really understand what that means. Obviously he just has a different approach to roasting and his curves probably look differently. And what I mean by curves to bring you all up to speed, roasting is actually tracked. They're very good at getting data from roasting right now. So, imagine basically a roast is timed now. The temperature in a roast constantly increases. So it's tracked on a line called the rate of rise. So the rate in which the temperature within the roaster is increasing. And it's tracked by probes that are put in. So, long story short, there's a lot of data that goes into coffee roasting. And that's why, and Scott's got the ability to kind of a client of his will say, look, my coffee doesn't taste great. This is what it tastes like. Here's my roast curve. And Scott can look at the roast curve and be like, all right, well, if I suggest you use a curve more like this, you might get more flavors. So he does this online consulting and he's
And he also talks about, is it called the flick or the something? Is like, there's that last bit after crack where it's like, if the temperature drops off too quickly or whatever happens, it's like completely just changes and can ruin like something the flick or something like that.
I can't.
I got to say though, like, Ro, you kind of touched on it, like post, like for someone that has the reputation of being so jarring and controversial and someone that like, you know, I'm anti his style of existence. There wasn't a single thing that I didn't follow tonight.
Yeah. He was,
Literally.
well, he's an educator, you know, so he's good at like synthesizing.
Exactly. Yeah. From education to like tiny little tips to the absolute nuance to even just like his ideology of just like the tiny 1% that I care about, but also being aware that, you know, other people don't care. I was actually quite impressed.
Well,
you know?
I was really taken aback by his story about when he had his cafe in Massachusetts in that small town, and the town really came after him. What a like experience that must have been to go through at 22 years old. Like you're a baby at 22 years old. Like
I had to remind myself as we were listening of how young he was and being like how terrifying that would be at that age for me.
It kind of reminds me of something that happened in Melbourne not that long ago. So there's a restaurant that you and I have been to, a cafe called Florian, which is not too far from here actually. So run by some really lovely people. And they kind of had an issue with their neighbors because the cafe got so popular that would line up during COVID, and then it was in front of these people's houses. So these people like attempted to take him to court or something, or like there was threatening in nature anyway. So it was just a whole schmozzle. You know, the owners of the place were just like, oh, shit, you know, like we're just having a go. But
what are the laws when it comes to that kind of stuff? Like you can't have any control over people standing on a footpath.
Yeah, but they got approved to open a fucking venue there. Yeah. So like they should be able to just like, you know, like who cares? Like they have a successful business.
I know, but they're not the ones getting people to line up down the street. It's just if people happen to be on the street because they're going to that place, it's like there's no control over that.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's NIMBYism. I can't stand that NIMBYism.
Yeah.
Have the world.
Absolutely. I also laugh very much at him being like, I opened this roastery in X year or whatever he said, and you're like, that's when I was born.
He wasn't thrilled about that.
He was not thrilled.
He was like, thanks.
But having said that, he's looking pretty good.
He looks amazing.
Yeah, he's looking like he's in shape.
Also, my mother-in-law diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and we actually talked before the pod. I wanted to say it on the pod, but he was pushing like saunas for that kind of thing. He's like,
well, I think as a preventative measure in like,
the blood flow to help like blood flow to the brain, a few different things.
And this is something like of enormous concern to me because like, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but my mum passed away from dementia 2 years ago, and you know it happened, and she got it when she was 50, and you know it's just like a terrible thing to have happen at like such a young age, and like you know obviously
50 is too young, isn't it?
Well, she died at 60, but she got it when she was 50.
Yeah.
So, but it's just it does make me think. It's like you know, and do I need to take some sort of what can I do to prevent that happening to me?
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously I don't want that to happen, and, you know, I wouldn't want to put my family through it again. So like, you know.
No, completely. I think that's a really hard thing to think about. He was talking about it's such a weird thing to think about testing to find out whether you have a chance of it or not. You're like, do I just not want to know? Like, have you done any tests to find out if any likelihood?
None whatsoever.
And you won't?
No, I think I will.
Okay.
I think I'm probably at that age now where I probably need to start thinking about it. And, you know, like if it can happen to my mum at 50, like, you know, it could happen to me at 50.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously something I need to.
Well, my dad died when I was really young from cancer. And it's like he died at like 55 from like a spinal cancer, which is technically neurological. His brother died when he was like 27 of brain cancer. I'm like,
Scott's did.
Oh, no, sorry. My dad's brother died at 27. So both him and his brother died from both neurological cancers at like super young ages. You're like, oh God. It's like, and I don't know about you guys, I've definitely got the male approach to medical stuff where I'm like, if I don't see it, it's not there kind of thing. And I'm getting better as I get older because I'm realizing it's more important. There are people that depend on me and, you know, I'm becoming a lot more responsible in that sense. But I definitely sometimes am just like, see no evil. Like, I don't even want to know if it's there or if there's a chance.
Let's stay here. Let's stay here for a second. And, you know, if you want to not talk about this, then just say it. And we'll move on. But like, I think we're at a point where I kind of like the idea of the listeners understanding us as people a lot. And like, I think that's been the hardest thing I've ever dealt with in my life, like dealing with that grief. And I'm the type of person that like, I'd be interested to know how you deal with it, because when my mum passed away, it didn't hit me. Like I didn't cry. I didn't like, for some reason, it just didn't hit me. Like it would be weird for a lot of people here to hear that, listen to this to hear that. But it hit me in December last year. Like the realization of it. And I think it was kind of like, if I ever have a wedding or a child, won't be there. And it's like, the delay kind of hit me. And it's like, how do you deal with it so many years on? Because it's like, it's painful.
Yeah. I mean, you just saying that right now is, making me want to cry.
It's just like,
because there's something, I mean, still with it happening so long ago, that's something that I think with a lot of things, like I've got my partner now and engaged and like, he'll never meet her. He'll never be at those things and all those kind of moments. And it was tough when I was maybe like 16. I was a kid. I put myself into everything. I was back at school the Tuesday after he passed. He passed away on the Thursday. I was back at school on the Tuesday. And for a year, and I was at school, I just buried myself in extracurricular activities and things. And it wasn't until that year or two later that I dealt with it. But I now, in a more positive thing, there was like a Andrew Garfield segment when he talked about losing his mother that I really liked. He's like, I still will feel that grief. The hole gets smaller every year and it goes, but it will always be there. And he's like, and that's fine. He's like, that grief is just that love that I had for that person kind of showing itself and being there. So it's like, kind of take it and embrace it and be a part of it through there. But I definitely feel those things that and you're feeling as well.
Well, and dementia is such a cruel thing. Like I can't explain how hard it is when your mum forgets who you are. And like,
can't imagine.
And like, for me, when she ended up being at a point for like 6 or 7 years, I think. She had to live in a nursing home. So, having someone care for her full time, and alone time with my mum was feeding her, like hand feeding my mum. And that was like, I think that was like, it's really tough to do. And, with dementia is kind of this cruel thing that it's almost a relief. It was a relief when she passed because like, obviously she was out of the situation, but my family was, and it's just, I never.
And like, they're not living a life at that point anyway. You're not worried about like they were.
But there was this one, I was thinking about this just this morning actually, and it's kind of like, and because I saw someone, I was talking to someone who had just been dealing with dementia, and obviously, you've got a family going through it at the moment as well. And it's like, when it first happened, when my mum came to Victoria and like, she had just developed the condition, but she could still walk, she could still come out to a restaurant and all sorts of things. And there's certain shame that I guess dementia families kind of might feel, because when I was washing dishes at a cafe, my first ever cafe job, and my mum came in with my sister. Obviously my sister brought her, and none of the other staff knew, but one of the staff members came in and she said, "That woman's so f***ing f***ed." And I said, "Who are you talking about?" And she pointed at my mum, and I just went outside and I bawled my eyes out. And like, the feeling of it was so like crushing. It's like, I just found out, like I just saw my mum again yesterday. Then like going through that, it was tough, and like, I don't know how we got onto this subject. I'm glad we're talking about it.
No, absolutely.
I want the listeners to know who we are, I guess. But like, if you're dealing with that, I feel for you. Like and the best thing you can do if your family is going through that is to enjoy the rest of the time that you have left. And my stepdad at the funeral, my mum's funeral, my stepdad had taken my mum scuba diving while she had dementia. He took her skateboarding, and he had all the footage of it.
Oh
And
my
like,
God.
you know, you know, death is something where, you know, obviously you mourn and grieve, and it's like a hard, but it actually made the funeral quite like, I was like, fuck, you know, she lived every moment. So like my stepdad, Lee, allowed her to live every moment that was available to her to the most it could be. And that's maybe like something we can all reflect on in life. Like,
you gave me that advice when I first told you that I was I had someone in my family with Alzheimer's, and I've taken that on, and it's, you know, one of her sons wants to take her back to China where she was born, because her family led the Holocaust and ended up in China, and so she was born there. And so he wants to take her back and go around the town where she was like brought up and have all that. My partner and I want to take her to Japan, and then where kids have been, there's new grandchildren coming. There's all these things these beautiful life moments that we're trying to really make sure are all here in that time that we have. So you gave me that advice very early on, and I take it on. And I think it's probably good advice for everyone, regardless, you know, get out there, do what you want to do, live your life, enjoy great coffee.
Yeah, enjoy every moment you have on this earth, and definitely enjoy it with a great fucking cup of coffee. And I reckon this is an excellent place to just
end it right there on the coffee break.
Love you all.
Love you.
And love you, Rohan.
You too, man.
Come here.